So if you're having trouble live streaming here, I want to give you some really good tips and tricks to help you better troubleshoot, as well as hopefully provide a good foundational knowledge of how live streaming works so that in the future, if issues come up, they're a lot quicker to solve. And maybe you even want to take your live streaming kind of setup to the next level. This is hopefully going to give you a good idea of, webcams and mics that what's the best to purchase so that your computer can handle it and make sure that you have the best quality stream as well. So right off the bat, let's go to our help center here, and we have this live events overview article. And so if you are running into issues and you haven't visited this, there's a good chance that simply kind of mimicking these settings here can solve some problems for you. But let's actually talk about them and what they all mean. So for the most part, when you're live streaming, the idea is to get to as best quality as you can so that your end user has a really good experience. And that's probably going to be 1080p in most cases here. 1080p with 30 FPS. You can actually get above that. The higher frames per second, the smoother the video will be. But also, the more computing power you're going to need, the better upload speed you're going to need as well. So what we want to do here, this one says we need a minimum upload speed of 7.5 megabits to use. And we can check out what we have. We can just go to a website called fast.com. This is going to run a test on your download speed and your upload speed. First with your download speed here. So let's just wait for that to finish. We'll click show more info. And then we should see our upload speed here in a sec. Awesome. So this is great. I only did 10, but I have 720. And this means I can upload an insanely good stream. But my limiting factor in all of this is my computer processing power. If my computer can't make the best possible stream out there, I have to work with what I have. So the reverse is true as well. If I have a really good computer and a really slow internet speed, it's just not going to work. I need that high upload speed to upload high quality video. So let's go back here. Let's go back to our help article here. And it says we want a bit rate of 5,000, keyframe interval of 2 seconds here. So this is set in our encoding software. And I'm going to open OBS, and I've talked about this quite a bit in other videos. It's a really good free starting point, and it can get pretty advanced as well. So it's a great tool to work with, but you might graduate into other tools in the future. Good thing is the concepts are all the same. You're going to find bit rate and your resolution settings and all these other softwares as well, with the exception of typically software or web-based software encoders. And these are websites you visit where they just connect to your webcam through the website. You're not going to find a lot of these settings here because usually those websites are actually downgrading the quality of your camera and your mic to make a really, bandwidth effective stream. So we actually want to take advantage of our high quality webcam, high quality mic, and a tool like OBS will allow us to do that. So what we can do, we're going to go to our settings. This is always my first starting point. I go to the video section here and I just see what our base canvas here is. And this is actually what I'm going to be sending. So as we saw there, we wanted 1080p, we wanted 30 FPS. I have it set at 60. Actually, let's get back to that one in a sec. So under canvas resolution, if you don't see 1080p, just click the drop down. Hopefully it's in that list. If it's not though, that just means your monitor isn't large enough to actually support 1080p streaming. So this can happen when you're on a laptop or something like that. You'll notice that I actually can go above that, but that's going to require a lot more upload speed, a lot more computer power, and your end users watching the video are going to have to have a higher download speed. So 1080p is pretty standard out there. So let's leave it at that, and we'll just make sure these are the same. Okay, so FPS, this is going to increase the smoothness of the video that you're broadcasting. 60 is great if you can handle it, but there's a couple things we need to watch out for. First, is your camera actually supporting 60 frames per second? I have it at 60 FPS, but I know for a fact, if I open my webcam software, and I'll pull this up here, my webcam actually only goes up to 30 frames per second. So this would be completely wasted. It would actually use more computer processing power. It would use more bandwidth, and it actually truly wouldn't be sending 60 frames per second in. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to exit out of that, and we're going to drop this down to 30. So now everything kind of matches nicely. And the other thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to our output section. And actually, typically when you start OBS, there's going to be a nice wizard that's going to run you through the setup. It's actually going to test your internet speed and test your computer speed, and it'll adjust settings accordingly. And usually that's pretty good, but I mean, we're here to troubleshoot. So let's see what we can actually edit here. Okay, so I'm going to go back here and 5000 bit rate. Oh, actually, we should go up here. So video codec H.264. This is actually going to use my my graphics card. But you can see here that says X264. This is basically using my processing power. If possible, if you have a really good graphics card in your computer, you can switch that over to your hardware settings here and actually use less of your processing power and actually more rely on your graphics card, which is great. Kind of offload some of that power usage there. But it's fine if you're on a laptop, you might not have that option. You might have X264. It'll still be okay. So my bit rate is actually really high here, and that's just because my computer can handle it. But if that's not the case for you, let's drop that down to 6,000 or whatever it is. If you're at 6,000 and you're still having issues, this is where we might need to drop it down to 720, but we can figure that out here. So let's just leave that at 6,000 here. And you'll note that there's actually no keyframe interval, and that's just because we need to switch over to advanced, and then we can see that here. And let's just switch that back to 6,000. And then here's our keyframe interval. This is pretty industry standard, so let's set that to 2. And if I wanted to, I can switch that over. Yeah, let's actually just do that to the H.264. Oh no, I have to set this again because it's a different setting. And 2. Perfect. So what we want to do here, let's go ahead and hit start streaming, because we just want to see what our computer usage is at. And you'll note it's really interesting here because it's actually staying consistent. And I'll tell you why that is in a sec. So we're going to open up our task manager here. And we can see OBS here. And it's not even the most used item here. So it's actually doing pretty well. So what's going on here? Under OBS, I have my graphics card. And this is using around 9% of my graphics card. And that is ultimately because of that setting I picked here under output. If I switch this back to X264, this is going to use my processor. And now if I start streaming, you should see that jump up quite a bit. Actually, I might have to pull up a webcam here. There we go. So now you can see it jump up because it's using a lot more of my CPU. Now, this is not your total CPU usage. This is just what OBS is using. So you also kind of need to take into account what are your other programs using. If OBS is using 10, 20%, that's great. As long as other programs here aren't taking up a lot of speed, you should be in good shape there. So this is also why it can be important to actually disable some of your other softwares while you're streaming, just to kind of give yourself room here. Okay, so the other thing we can troubleshoot here, there's this drop frames, and this is going to be indicative of any lag and stutter issues. As things are having issues streaming out, you'll see some percentage increase there, and that means that you do need to drop some of your settings. So let's do this. Let's stop streaming there. And just to kind of show you here, I want to actually reduce this down to 720p. Hit apply. And whenever you change resolutions here, you have to kind of resize your stuff here. And then we'll go to our output. And I think that did reduce the kilobits per second there for me as I changed that. Let's set this back to 2. We'll hit OK and we'll hit start streaming. Perfect. So you can see it actually dropped my CPU usage down by about 5% just from lowering it to 1080p to 720. And I mean, for the most part, it looks pretty good. You're not going to notice tons of difference. Some, eagle-eyed users might see that, oh, the quality isn't, as good as it could be. But this can be very useful if you need to troubleshoot. Just try turning those settings up and down and watch your CPU usage. And of course, always be mindful of your internet usage. And especially if other people are using your internet while you're streaming, they can end up using a bunch of your upload power while you're not even noticing, and that can cause issues as well. So hopefully this gives you a good starting point for troubleshooting. And if you have questions, please reach out to our support team and we're happy to help you kind of troubleshoot a little bit there for you. Take care.